Hi, and welcome back to a podcast above a convenience store, Talking Twin Peaks. I'm Joe Fremming from the joedown.blog. With me, as always, is Paul Muad'Dib. Paul, how are you doing?
Well, it's in the house. No, I'm doing well. I'm doing well. No, nothing got in my house. Um, yeah, been pretty good. Really excited to get into this episode and started getting into season three. I guess before we do that, though, I'm also exhausted, Joe. I'm doing three podcasts, and you're doing two, and Scott's doing two.
Yeah, yeah, and I also got the Joe down on top of this too.
You you got the Joe down, and spoiler alert, there's a new one coming out next month.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I got a new podcast coming out next month.
Wow.
So that'll be I'll just tell you that. So yeah, I'll be working on four podcasts.
Paul, it's a world of truck drivers.
It's a world of truck drivers. Oh my God. All right.
Okay,
Shoot. Yeah, go
let's
for
start
it, my
this off,
friend.
and we started this podcast off with kind of correlating between the Jacob Wetterling disappearance
Mm-hmm.
and the arrival of Twin Peaks. The return was oddly
Oh my
similar.
God.
So we talked about what happened with uh, uh, the reveal episode of in season two. But what happens is on August 31st, 2016, Danny Heinrich shows investigators where he had left the body of Jacob Wetterling. Finally giving closure to the family. A lot of people we know in our old former neck of the woods. It was huge news. It also felt like a weight off, I think, everybody's shoulders.
Oh God, yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, so
Um,
that's 2016, and once again, just a few months later,
we get fucking Twin Peaks.
we go back to Twin Peaks. Paul, this feels like some of that weird circular Mulholland Drive, Lost Highway stuff going on.
Oh, it's crazy. And I'm just gonna. We didn't get into everything, but I'll talk about it since we're gonna get in the return. Let's talk about what happened. So in 2000, July 28th of 2015, investigators searched Heinrich's home and looking for evidence of Jacob and another child named Jared. Investigators seized three ring binders containing child pornography, a pair of silver handcuffs, duct tape, camouflage pants, a shirt, and four bins filled with boy-sized athletic underwear. Producer says Heinrich was making his own pornography using copies of a Painesville yearbook from 1970s. He was found with numerous videotapes, which appear to be recorded footage of the neighborhood children delivering newspapers, riding bikes, playing in parks, and sporting events. He acknowledges the child porn and stating that some of the things law enforcement would find are pretty damning. He says he downloaded from the internet. It takes then a complaint is filed. A sealed criminal complaint against Heinrich is signed by the special agent Shane Ball, in presence of the U.S. Magistrate Judge Jeffrey Keyes, which is really close to Jeffries. So yeah, another coordination there. He must have had a terrible lawyer. No one, I don't think anyone wanted to be his lawyer, because we skipped to April 26th of 2016, like 8 months later, and his attorneys asked the judge to declare the search of his home illegal, which no one does. In August of that year,
were they anticipating a Nightmare on Elm Street scenario where, like Freddy Krueger, he gets off in a technicality?
Right. I mean, and that's what it would have been. I mean, there's a timeline now where that happens. He was killed by a bunch of parents and came back as a fuck with freaky fingers.
Did he come back as Scary Terry from
Scary Terry? Scary Terry. You can run, but you can't hide. So at this point, and there's something between April and August went on behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Because on August 31st of 2016, his attorneys agreed to a deal where he'll only be charged in the pornography case and not the murder or kidnapping. He took the investigators to where his body was buried, and then in September 6th, he describes in court how he abducted, assaulted, killed, and buried Jacob. He also confesses to the other assault that we had brought up in that spring of '89.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It was he got away technically with the murder, but he's in jail for the rest of his.
He's in jail for the amount of pornography and things that they found on him. I think he's in there. I think he got something like 3 consecutive life sentences.
I think that I'll have to look into it, but I think he got like something like 20 years, 20 to something. But given his age, that's a death sentence, pretty much. It was but I think the family agreed to it just so they'd finally have conclusion to their. I mean, I couldn't imagine not knowing if my child was alive or dead for over damn near 3 decades.
Right.
So yeah, that comes to a close. This dark chapter of our childhood comes to a close, and then David Lynch and Mark Frost come in and they reopen another
one on May 21st of 2017. Boy, okay, so we are going to do part 1, part 2, we're going to do each episode singly or on their own. Yes, when you look at it on the DVD and the Blu-rays, you have an option to watch both. It was released with those two, and that's how it was released at Cannes, where David Lynch got his revenge, or his defeated his personal demons of being booed for Fire Walk with Me.
Yeah, they came back, and again, over time, Fire Walk with Me has been reappraised and acknowledged for being a lot better. That movie came out with a lot of baggage.
Yes,
that's just and Fire Walk with Me, and I think given how cinema was at the time, it was going more gritty and more realistic.
Oh yeah,
you have Tarantino coming out. These were the film school reject generation. Kevin Smith's, fucking Aronofsky and shit like that. It was at the time when cinema was just taking a different turn.
We had Fincher as well around that time too, I think.
Yeah, Fincher. I think at this time he had just done Alien 3, but he was on the cusp of few years away from 7, which was so people at that time were not. I think just didn't want Lynchian weirdism, or it just was. I don't know. It just didn't seem like it was in the pulse of.
No, this was not on the pulse. No.
But yeah, so he comes back with The Return. And they aired the first 2 episodes at Cannes. Standing ovation. He gets his. It
was amazing to see him get a standing ovation.
And and then when this came out, it was a Sunday. I bought. There's 2 things going against me as a Twin Peaks fan. 1, I hate cherry pie, and 2, I can't drink coffee. So I got apple pie, and I drank a bunch of soda.
Nice. I did. I ran out and got a cherry pie, and I got coffee, and I sat there with my wife and watched the part 1 and part 2 because they were released at the same time.
Oh, I watched Showtime app unveiled 4 episodes.
That's right.
Yes, they did. All. I think it was around 1:30 in the morning. I stumbled to bed more confused than I think I've ever been in my life.
That's right. They did release 4 right away, and then everything was weekly from that point. Yes.
Yeah, let's get into this. We got the
Absolutely.
return, and honestly, this is what I've been most excited for with this podcast. And it's not that the first two seasons I've just been talking about for 30 years
Mhm.
with various friends and everything. I feel like, this was something I haven't got to speak a whole lot about. Like you and I's talked about it,
Yep.
airing, but like this is still fresh and new to me.
Absolutely. Like I said, I'm watching it for the first time since I watched it in 2017.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And so we begin with the return. It starts reminding us
The
what
firewalk
happened.
with me happened.
It starts with Cooper in the Black Lodge, young Laura saying, "I'll see you again in 25 years." We get new opening credits,
Mm-hmm.
which is kind of cool. It's still Twin Peaks, but it's different. The sawmill's gone. That's
Yes.
in real life. That they just it's an industry that's on the decline or is dead for the
Can,
most part.
can I say that when they're playing the music over the new opening, it still gives me chills because
Yes,
it's like, whoa, this is different.
yeah, and it's weird because given how the return, we don't get a whole lot of Angelo's music. It feels like, or at least it
No.
feels very muted compared to
Ex-
how. And this is straight up the tone of this is so different. Tonally, it's so different than Fire Walk with Me and the show. I think a lot of people found that a little jarring. I just went in because I didn't know what the fuck to expect. I mean, David Lynch hadn't done really anything since Inland Empire, and that was like what 2003, 2004.
Yeah, somewhere around there.
Yeah, but like 13 years, we hadn't seen anything from him.
No, no. And, I think having read The Secret History, we knew that a lot of these characters weren't coming back.
Yeah,
So it was like, who's the new characters? Like what's going to happen here? And I think, we talked about the Twin Peaks book last week, but I also think that this was, again, definitive, because Joe had asked me on our podcast, we were talking about it, he's like, so you guys went really in depth, and they don't have to read the book because of you guys. And I said, well, there were about 150 pages we didn't cover because it's into the personal lives of Twin Peaks. That was the resolution to Twin Peaks, was that part of it. Like, that was the end of the Twin Peaks you knew.
yeah, that
And
was. They gave it to us. It was just in a form we weren't expecting. So,
exactly.
so people going into this expecting, hey, where is everybody?
Yeah. Yeah. Where's Snake? Where's Norma and Big Ed and Nadine?
To
Where's
be
yeah.
fair, Snake comes in the next episode.
To be fair, he does. But I mean, you got Jacoby getting packages, and just weird shit. But we'll get to that when we get to that. It
So we
opens
start.
up. Yeah.
Yes, we are what I think Paul and I can safely say is the White Lodge.
Mm-hmm.
We have Cooper and what
Yes.
looks like the Giant.
He
Uh,
is in the credits. He is all question marks.
yes,
So
he turns out to be the fireman. Is what they call him. I don't even know why they had to put question marks over that. The fireman doesn't really give us any more answers than
well,
the
no,
question marks.
but I think it's because you're leading people on to think it was the Giant, and so he wasn't going to put it as the Giant. So they're like, well, isn't that the Giant? Maybe it's not the Giant. I mean, it was played by Carol Strucken, who was
Yeah.
the Giant, but
I think it's a different entity. I think the Giant is part of that race of giants we read about in Secret History.
exactly. So then I think that it's uh, we can tell it's the White Lodge because it's devoid of color. It's white. It's very very washed.
It's black and white, which is the first time we really see this from Lynch on a larger scale since probably what Elephant Man. He kind of
Hmm.
like made his first two films, Eraserhead and Elephant Man, were all black and white. Uh,
Hmm.
so the return is like it feels like a culmination of his whole career, and there's a lot of nods and Easter eggs he kind of puts in there toward just about everything he's done.
Yeah, I don't expect there to be a season 4. This event really feels like his swan song. Like he is putting everything that he has done over the years into these 18 episodes.
Yeah, and in the his book Room to Dream, I read, it damn near killed him making this. It was just such a grueling production schedule. It was such a big project. I mean, it's basically an 18-hour movie. Something.
Yeah, it's an 18-hour movie. Yeah, it is.
So I mean, it's go ahead, Lynch, make your short films, do what you do. I mean, I'm happy with what we got.
Yeah.
Considering I didn't expect to see Twin Peaks ever again.
No, I didn't expect to see Twin Peaks ever again, and I think it was totally the right way to go.
So we're in the White Lodge, and we see Cooper. Cooper's aged better than what they thought he would.
yeah. They didn't use the old footage of Cooper in the Red Room. They made him look just terrible.
So the fireman tells him to listen to the sounds, and we get like these weird scratches from a phonograph. Mm-hmm. These come into play later on. These are clues.
These are clues.
It's a lot different from what we saw, but Lynch and Frost are still sprinkling us with a lot of clues. They're more cryptic this time. I think they have more faith in their audience now after.
Yes. And I think they figured that if the ones that are going to watch this are the hardcore people.
Yeah. Hardcore people and critics and but it was weird because the show did pretty well for Showtime, considering, based on the Nielsen ratings and all that. We'll kind of get into that later, but
yeah,
it didn't score very high, but those never take in the new way people consume media, which is streaming.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
According to Showtime, it did well enough that they have an open door to Lynch Frost if they ever want to return.
Yes, it did well enough where Showtime would like them to do another season. Yeah, it did that well.
So the Giant says and the Giant's talking backward. Cooper never speaks backward in the lodge. Interesting, he's the only one. He says, "It is in our house now."
Mm-hmm.
Cooper is confused. It is. The Giant tells him, "It all cannot be said aloud now." And he gives him some clues. Remember 430, Richard and Linda, 2 birds with 1 stone. Cooper responds, "I understand." Joe Fleming and Paul Muad'Dib respond, "We do not."
We do not. We do not. At least we did not when I watched the first time. Because the takes a hard left turn.
Then he says, "You are far away," and Cooper vanishes.
Yep.
I believe, and we can kind of get into this at that episode. If you're listening to this, I'm assuming you've already watched The Return. Otherwise, there's spoilers.
Yeah. Let's put that out there right now.
Spoilers. Turn it off right now if you don't want to know what happens in the further episodes. I think this part in the show, what we're seeing is when Mr. C gets into the White Lodge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, the Return plays with time a lot. We don't know. Well, one, it infuses multiple timelines.
Yep.
It's hard to keep up with it all. I'm not gonna lie.
It is. No, it's hard because there's certain things that I believe are going on at another time, not at the same time, and you're not given this information. You kind of have to watch it and discern that for yourself.
There's an infamous one too, which is just blatant. Somebody comes into the Double R asking where Billy is, and when he leaves, the people in the diner are completely different. So it's happening in real time, and we find out why.
Yes.
Later on, why reality seems to be kind of folding in and out on top of itself at times.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But yes, Cooper vanishes, and now we go to Twin Peaks. we get Jacoby's seen better days.
I love it where he had the sunglasses on, but it was just those cover over, because as soon as he takes those off, he's still got the fucking red and blue glasses. And all I could think to myself when I saw that was, years of wearing those glasses must have really fucked up his eyes.
Oh God, could you imagine?
No, I don't want to imagine it.
Everything's just purple.
Everything's just purple for this poor bitch.
Yeah, we see he's getting a giant order of shovels. We'll find out later what those are for.
Yep.
But it's funny because Lynch in this episode he's giving us a little taste of what's happening in Twin Peaks, but they're also expanding the story outward and more because this is followed up by a mysterious building in New York City.
Yep.
And we meet Sam. He's this guy who's watching a giant glass cube, waiting for something to happen, which is a very brilliant way of kind of like trolling the fans.
Right.
We're just staring at a box waiting for something to happen.
Well, and I will say again, Lynch already starts doing what I fucking love about this season, which is there's a part where he's doing something, Sam's doing something, and he stretches the scene out, and it gets uncomfortable. You're like, you get anxious. You're like, what's gonna happen? Nothing's gonna happen, bitch.
It's his most on the nose metaphor since the TV smashing at beginning of Fire Walk with Me.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's obviously a take on people's expectations and watching television, because this guy's just sitting there waiting for something to happen. Nothing happens.
Nothing happens.
But hey, we have his kind of girlfriend Tracy shows up with coffee, and we find out not only is he just watching this box, but it's top secret. Like, there's an armed guard. Whatever he's doing is it's important to somebody.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it is. Okay. So I have a feeling. I got the impression that she's interested in him, and he's autistic. That's what I got out of this, and I don't mean that in the wrong way. I mean, when you think about what his job is, to just sit at a glass box and change SD cards, you want to get someone who is a very monotone or very singular focused individual.
Yes. You don't want somebody who's curious about things.
Exactly. So I'm like, yeah, I would hire I'm like, how did he get this job? He got the job because he doesn't care. He doesn't understand. He doesn't have the thinking. He's just going to do what he's told. So I get the impression that she was into him, and he wasn't getting the clues. And I also get the feeling that, if we get in another season or, another book maybe, that we're going to find out that Tracy wasn't all she seemed either.
She seemed overly curious about not only the box, but like when he's punching in the code to get in, she's watching it, like what numbers he's hitting.
Yes.
So yeah, there's something about her. It doesn't spoiler. They don't really go back to her.
No. Yeah, they don't.
But you get a feeling that she might be somebody investigating, maybe somebody paid informant or something for probably Blue Rose. Would be my guess. I don't think he's an agent or anything, but I think they paid her to, like, hey, if you can find some information about this, do what you can.
Yep. I completely agree with that. And, he won't let her in. The security guard won't let her in. And then he's just staring at the box, and we go to Ben. Oh, there's one. No, before we get to Ben, I wanted to, okay. Did you hear when he left to go get the delivery and then he came back, the atmosphere sound was different. It was almost like like this, like whatever he was looking for in the box came when he wasn't looking. Did you catch that?
Yeah. It's I I think that's happened before. It happens later on too, and we know
Mm-hmm.
why it does that because Cooper's in it.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
But we don't
So
know what it was before. We've just learned that there's multiple things showing up in this box. It's not just
yes.
Cooper. We get Jowday at the end of
Well,
this episode.
well, we'll get into that. We'll get into that because there's some discrepancies there because of the name, and we will talk about that. Um, but yeah, there's a lot of things that come out of that box. We get Briggs at one point, I think.
Yeah, it's basic, but ultimately we find out the reason this box exists. Mr. C made it so he could either capture Cooper or Judy. That's his main focuses are those two entities at this point in his life, and he's had an interesting life. But we'll get to that because now we have to go to the Great Northern. Ben Horn and his very super high brother Jerry.
And let's not forget he has a new assistant, Beverly Page, who was played by Ashley Judd.
Yeah,
of all people,
which seems like a big name for such a small character, but
right,
he was really wanting to do it.
Yeah, and they're talking. They just have Mrs. Houseman in my notes here wants a refund for the 2-day stay because there was a skunk that was nowhere near her room, but she wants it. And Ben's like, we'll give her 2 days, but we're not going to give her full stay because they're always using, I can't remember what it was, always using something.
Yeah, it was somebody complaining about a skunk that wasn't even in their room. It was just in the hotel on the other side.
But you see a much more like caring Ben at this point.
He's not his edges have dulled a bit.
Yeah, because again, the old Ben would have refused to give anyone a refund and anything like that. But then Jerry comes in. God damn it, I love David Patrick Kelly. He's so fucking hot.
He has a giant beard. He looks like he just came back from a Fish concert. He has his pot-infused banana bread with him.
Oh my God. Yes. He's explaining to Ben, how, and this is where you see that Ben has changed. Because they start talking about if Ben's going to sleep with her. And he's like, no, she's an innocent soul. She's married. No, I'm not going to do that. And so you see that Ben has grown and Jerry has not fucking changed.
Oh, yeah. Jerry's no longer in the hotel business, we find out, but he's actually doing pretty well in the newly lucrative legalized weed industry, which all the power to him. Jerry found a way to make his fortune.
Well, and you learn that, and he says it in that thing. He's like, "Where have you been? My weed business is making 3 times what the hotel is. Like, this is the reason why we're rich now. Are you not paying attention?" But just the way he describes things. Right now, what's swimming in my head, and he starts going off on this big thing, and you find out that everything he's eating has weed baked into it.
Oh, yeah. And Jerry, he's just high as fuck throughout this whole thing. There's a moment, too, where I don't know he encounters the lodge entity or if he's just really high.
Yeah. Yes. I
can't tell the difference, but...
I don't know. I kind of in the same boat because I expected something to happen to him.
I think he does based on how he travels. He ends up 30 miles away. Mm-hmm. I don't think he did that on foot. I think something happened to him in the woods, kind of like what we read about in Secret History. But that's a few episodes away. But now we go back to the sheriff's station of Twin Peaks, and an insurance agent, asking for a Sheriff Truman. Lucy is confused still.
Lucy never changed.
She never learned the phone system. We learn later she's even more confused by cell phones.
Yes. So, we I really look at this part as just kind of an introduction, kind of a little bit here. But yeah, they asked him which Sheriff Truman. Because one's sick and one who's fishing.
Yeah, we find out Harry's sick, hence why we don't see him in the episode. And Frank, that we met in Secret History,
Yes,
is the sheriff now. He's gone fishing.
He's gone fishing. Yep, he's taking the time off to fish. Now we get to what is probably my favorite part of this episode.
Yeah.
Well, there's a couple favorite parts of this episode, but when the music hits and it changes, and you see the thing driving down the dark road, and you go, "What the fuck's going on?"
And then we finally, for the first time in 25 years, we see a Cooper.
We see a Cooper, and we know from the end of it that he's probably not right still, and you definitely know it from the Secret History that really leaned in that you're not going to get Cooper, you're going to get Bob Cooper, as I like to call him.
And he calls himself, he's referred to as Mr. C. He shows up at this dilapidated house. And we notice right away, his eyes are black.
Yes.
The evil has consumed him to the point where his eyes are now black. They're just black. It's a creepy effect, and it's really good. And his hair is long. Another element where we saw with Leland, people's hair start to take on Bob's attributes.
Yes, and you can
turn gray. Cooper's is long and twisted.
He is indeed. Bob is in control of that body, I believe.
Yeah, well, I think the doppelganger was pretty much a blank slate. It's kind of like what we saw in the lodge. They're just they're blank. They don't really have any of the personality or anything of their counterparts. Mm-hmm. We saw that with Leland. They're just kind of like. Yeah, so Mr. C has all of Cooper's knowledge and all that. He just doesn't have the personality, or technically what would be the soul, I'd imagine. Mm-hmm. Just doesn't have Cooper's soul. But he has Cooper's abilities, because as soon as he gets to the house, he just takes out the guard without like a second thought.
Yeah, and it's brutal. It's brutal. And then he goes in, and he's sitting with this other guy. I forget his name. And Otis. It was Otis. Otis, yes. And then the guy who he knocked out comes back in, and I think he killed him because he wasn't breathing. He killed him with his own shotgun by hitting him in the face with it.
Yeah, Mr. C is he's a badass. He's taken, and that's the problem with Bob having a host that is a blank slate Agent Cooper. He's unstoppable.
He's unstoppable as Agent Cooper. Yeah,
and,
absolutely.
And he's looking for some people, and he asks for Beulah, which I just want to say, I didn't tell you this, Paul. I'm in a Facebook group called Sign Peaks.
Yeah.
They mash up Twin Peaks and Seinfeld. Actress who plays Beulah, Kathleen Deming, is in that group, and I made a meme, and she liked it this morning. So,
are you serious?
I'm serious.
That's fucking awesome, dude.
Yeah, I woke up and saw that. I was pretty excited. But yeah,
that's fucking awesome.
Oh yeah. So yeah, that's just a nerdy thing I just wanted to bring up. We find the people in this house, Beulah's house, they give me a lot of the vibe of what we saw in past Lynch work. I got like that creepy party from Blue Velvet, especially. Mm-hmm. The guy, I mean, that's just kind of Lynch's thing. He has like these kind of oddball, also John Waterish in a way.
Very much so, but I also felt like they were lodge entities, like Otis to Beulah were.
I just don't.
The other guy in the corner.
And I'll tell you why I don't think they are.
Mm-hmm.
Besides the woodsman, Mr. C wants nothing to do with the lodges.
That's true.
The woodsmen are the only thing and they're just kind of beholden to him because he came about during Bob's birth. So I don't think they're lodge entities. I think they're just seedy people that Mr. C. Spoiler again. he's built a criminal empire.
Yes.
$1 billion criminal empire.
$1 billion criminal empire by having Bob's evil and Cooper's knowledge.
Cooper's knowledge and abilities, and his access. We got to remember, Mr. C had Cooper's FBI top secret access to files for a while.
For a while, he did, yes, and we'll learn more about that.
He's here. He's here looking for that fucker Ray.
He's here looking for Ray and Daria.
Mm-hmm. I'll always refer to him, and even the actor who plays Ray, his in his bio on Twitter, he's like that fucker Ray from Twin Peaks.
Fucker Ray. That's fantastic. That's awesome. Yeah, he's that fucker Ray, all right. And then you got Darla.
Or Daria.
Daria, and then she calls him out, and they follow him, and you just get the sense that I thought, that he was just going to kill him right there outside.
That's what I thought too, because he already killed the person holding watch.
Yep. You don't want Mr. C summoning you.
No.
No.
Not at all. And we learned that a lot in this. Mr. C is. We've also found that Cooper's been missing for 24 years.
Mm-hmm.
Blue Rose kind of trying to track him down, but
he's always one step ahead of them.
He's always one step ahead. We go back to New York City now. Tracy comes back. More coffee. Sam is still watching the box. What happens is she shows up and the security guard's missing.
Yeah, the security guard's missing, which I question if she did.
Yeah, that's another thing. Like, I think there's probably more backstory to this. I think she might be an FBI agent. We just don't know. She could be another person who's interested in the goings on of Mr. C. We don't know. He's built. When you're a criminal kingpin, you also build a lot of enemies.
Right, exactly. And people that want to see you go down. Which one asked them? He asked her if they want to if she wants to make out. And
it's like, well, when two young people start bumping uglies, I automatically hear, and especially in something that's kind of horror-ish, I just hear the
yeah, exactly. You're dead, motherfucker. And she goes full nude. I was not expecting that. And you only see her from behind, but still I was like, whoa, all right, Twin Peaks is Dalton it up.
Right. Again, this is such a tonal shift where the original series was a play on the nighttime soap opera type shows. This is just its own beast.
This is a completely original thing from Lynch.
Yeah.
And I think over the years we're going to see this start to influence people going down the road and what they do.
Oh, absolutely. So they start bumping uglies, and the box turns black. And we see what I can. We if you read Secret History, you have a hint of what's happening here. The box, we start seeing an entity like glitching in and out of it.
Mm-hmm.
This is what Jackie Gleason saw.
This is what Jackie Gleason saw. Along with, this is exactly what they describe, that what Nixon had captured and shown to Dougie Milford
and Jackie Gleason.
Jackie Gleason of all people.
This kind of brings it home though more than what we saw in Secret History. It was not aliens. It was more likely they're capturing lodge entities.
Yes.
This one is it's been attributed to being Judy.
Yes.
It kind of looks like her, but also from what we see in part 8, it kind of doesn't.
And this is so if you go to the Twin Peaks wiki, and I think even when they in the credits, it's the experiment model. or the experiment. And so it makes me think that it is something possibly separate from Judy, because we know where Judy is. So this is something else, I think.
It could be, but I mean, we don't know how Judy operates. We just don't.
True.
She's
True.
different from Bob.
Mm-hmm,
We know that, considering Judy can take her face off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah,
So
she
it could
does
be. I
operate.
think, and the reason Mr. C built this was to trap Judy.
Mm-hmm.
That's his goal. He wants to find Judy.
Yes. Well,
We'll get into that. So I think it's either Judy or an acolyte of Judy, if you will.
mm-hmm.
But
It
that-
could be.
But poor Tracy and Sam meet a pretty grisly fate.
Well, I say, so this is I also wanted to bring up, because this also smacks of what we read in of Secret History, which was the sex magic.
Yeah.
And, and I'll be honest with you, Frost was asked about that. And, he said, it's possible. It's possible. He wouldn't confirm or deny it.
Yeah, he's cagey.
He's cagey.
Of the two, they're both. Lynch will flat out just really won't talk about meanings behind things in Twin Peaks. Frost is at times just as cagey as Lynch on this sort of thing, but but if you're putting the two and two together, it makes sense.
Yep. So I think that was the fact that they were having sex in front of this thing that summoned this beast.
So does that mean Parsons and L. Ron Hubbard had sex? Is that what this is implying too?
It's
summon the Whore of Babylon.
In a way, it leads to like the sex orgies and the way that they were, why they were doing the sex orgies.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I totally think that was part of it. Mm-hmm.
And now, but yeah, so Sam and Tracy meet a grizzly and
it's brutal.
Yeah, but I mean, it's not Twin Peaks unless we have somebody die.
That's a true story, sir.
And speaking of somebody dying, we get our new mystery in a sense. We head to Buckhorn, South Dakota.
Yes.
A woman's walking her dog, and her neighbor's apartment is just stinking up the place.
Yep. And so she calls the police by dialing 2 numbers with a rotary phone.
Oh.
And officers Douglas and Olson show up. And there's fuckery. I mean, now you get the Twin Peaks quirkiness.
Yeah.
Which feels more like Fire Walk with Me quirkiness, not the show quirkiness.
Yeah, Lynch said Fire Walk with Me wasn't the most important thing to watch before going into The Return. And that's just because Lynch is not one for nostalgia, it seems like.
No.
Honestly. So I think here, it's his own weird quirkiness. And again, we're not getting the quirkiness of characters we know, which I'm sure frustrated the hell out of the people who wanted more coffee and pie and whatever.
Everything being in Twin Peaks and only Twin Peaks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're expecting that out of David Lynch, you should probably do a little bit more homework on that sort of thing. But yeah, they show up. We get these things like the maintenance guy. He's all paranoid. Like, wait, what?
Yep.
Why are you questioning me? They just want a key to open up this apartment.
And because the neighbor doesn't have it, or she's like, hey, this person, it was Marjorie, I think, and and then there's this whole kind of fuckery, and he's freaking out because he's holding a box of something, and he's like, what did Harvey send you? Did Harvey send you? And they're like, we just want a key. We just want a key. We want to know that you're we need to get a hold of Chip so we can get this key. And he's like, how do you know about Chip? How'd you know I was going to see Chip?
If I was a cop, I'm suspicious right away. Like, hold on to that smell. What's this guy's story?
Right. So you know, they find Hank outside of it, and he's fucking super weird. And then she comes out and says, "Do you think she's out of town? Because I'm supposed to water her plants when she's out of town. She gave me one of her keys." Oh, oh my god! Oh my god! And the cops, you could just tell, are just fucking over it.
Yeah. And then we get in the apartment. There's something in the bedroom.
Mhm.
It's a dead body.
It's a dead body. It's a head. It's a head. Well, it's a dead body.
It's a head. We got two things going here. But first, we got to get the proprietor of JJ's Diner from Parks and Rec, Detective Dave Mackley.
Yep, man, Brent Briscoe himself.
I love it. It just even when I first saw it, I was like, "Hey, it's Leslie Knope's favorite restaurateur."
So he shows up, and he and Constance are talking about that. Oh, you got the gloves on. Because he apparently his quirk is he doesn't do that. Well, they pull off the sheet, and we get a female head on top of a decapitated, very obviously male corpse. They do not mix. They do not match, and it's very obvious they don't match.
Yeah, this is so this kind of serves as like the new murder mystery for a while.
Hmm?
And it kind of brings in like Buckhorn's like citizenry and what have you. It's they're expanding this world, and it seems like whenever there's lodge fuckery going on, a murder happens.
Absolutely. And you get, I got the vibe too that Buckhorn is very much akin to Deer Meadow, is very much akin to Twin Peaks. Like
Yeah.
it's all these ones have very similar things going on.
Well, what Buckhorn has in common with Twin Peaks is they have entrances to the lodge world. We'll get into
Yes.
that, but that has it. It's also in that was it like the Devil's Canyon that Parsons went. There was a
Yep.
there that was in Secret History. We find out there's these areas around the world. Buenos Aires has one. That's where Philip Jeffries
Yep.
vanished. In Deer Meadow, that's where Chet Desmond
Vanished.
so yeah, there's these areas, pockets around the world where these entities have access to come and go, and the poor sons of bitches that stumble upon them.
Right. Right. Get
But
fucked.
yeah, but then we go back to Twin Peaks, and these
Oh.
scenes are always hard because Cassie
Mm.
Coulson was
Was
literally dying. She died shortly after they filmed these scenes.
Yeah, I mean, you could tell at one point she's crying
Yeah,
because she's in pain, and it's very visible, and it's very heartbreaking.
yeah. It's just I couldn't imagine I'm. It's wonderful she did it. I couldn't imagine. She was one of what? She's been friends with Lynch since the making of Eraserhead.
Yes.
I mean, that's probably hard all around. Like to film your friend like that. I couldn't imagine. But
No.
Hawk gets a call from the log lady. She's obviously very sick. They don't even try to. They just wrote that in that she has cancer.
Yep.
She's dying, but she's still important.
Yep.
She's very much important because her log has a message for Hawk, which is the name of this part. My log has a message for you.
Hmm.
Something is missing, and Hawk has to find it. And it has something to do with Dale Cooper, and the way to find it has something to do with Hawk's heritage.
Yes.
And Hawk listens to this, and I just love I mean, it's heartbreaking, but it's also beautiful. Just like the interaction between Hawk and Margaret.
Absolutely.
It's
Because
just,
Hawk respects the shit out of her because he's like, "Thank you," and he's right on it. Like he knows that if Margaret comes in with something, it means something. And it was great to see that he's now deputy chief.
yeah. I love Hawk.
I fucking love Hawk.
Like this. I love that Return makes him like one of the main characters, or bigger, even bigger than what he was in the original run. And Secret History, there's that chapter where he's talking about Big Ed being a big idiot.
Right, right. After that scene, we get back to Buckhorn, where they can't get Prince off the body, which is going to be a trigger event going forward. That would be very important. But they find Prince in the crime scene related to a Bill Hastings, played a local high school principal, played by none other than serial killer Matthew Lillard himself.
The guy from SLC Punk?
The guy from SLC Punk, the guy from Hackers, yes.
Hackers
and
such a bad movie.
Oh well, yeah, it was. I mean, that's why I brought up serial killer, because funny. Well, real quick tangent, because we like to go on certain things. When that was also kind of the start of Angelina Jolie's career, so they switched out at one point on the DVD the main male character's head and put it in back and superimposed her head over it for later copies of the DVD and VHS. Yep, just a little side note.
Right. Yeah, we reviewed it for the Joe Down. I still have zero memory of watching it because it was just that bad.
My group of friends in high school, the newspaper room, loved that movie. So I basically had to memorize it in order to hang out with these people.
I'm sorry. Nobody should have to go through that.
Thank you.
But yeah, the Prince bring up nothing on the body, but there are Prince in the apartment, goes to Bill Hastings. They go to his house.
Well, they confirm that it is Ruth Davenport, which is where the dossier comes from.
Yeah, it came from her the basement of her apartment building. This murder crime. Spoiler. It's just like this. I'm just gonna do
No. We'll do it when we get there. We'll leave the mystery of the body.
All right.
Yeah, I think we leave the mystery of the body.
Well, if you're at the Secret History and you're wondering about the dossier, the body's not going to be that much of a mystery.
That's true. Yes, that's true. I knew right away.
But yeah, so they go to old Bill's house to question him, even though the Morgans are coming to dinner.
the Morgans are coming to dinner.
Yeah, Bill's wife's not happy. He's getting arrested. Yeah, he's getting arrested because his fingerprints are just found all over this Davenport's apartment.
Mm-hmm.
Then we kind of go back. It's funny because this is the first episode, so it's given us all these things. So it's jumping around a bit.
Yep.
The Return just does this. It's just kind of, it's multiple storylines and dealing with multiple timelines at times. So
absolutely.
Yeah. So we sound kind of jumping around. It's by design of the show. We kind of go by beat based on how we've been doing these.
Yes.
So
and I think that's a good way of doing it, because it gives you an idea of what was going on, how frantic or how jumpy the thing is. I don't want to say it like that because
it flows.
It flows. It's more jarring, I guess, would be the word.
It's also as working as like a de facto repilot type thing.
Yes.
It's getting us more acquainted with the characters we're going to get to know here. So Bill Hastings is one, and we're also getting reacquainted because we go back to the Twin Peaks Police Department. Yes. Hawk is on the case because Margaret told him. And again, it shows how much respect Margaret Coulson commands for the people of Twin Peaks, and that if her log says something, the sheriff, you damn well bet the sheriff's department's going to look into it.
Absolutely.
They just respect her that much. So Hawk brings in the boxes from the old Laura Palmer case.
Yep.
And he has Andy and Lucy go get the more files. He's like, I'm going to bring coffee and donuts. We're going to go through this in the morning. We also find out Cooper has been missing. This is our first clue that after the events of the finale, Agent Cooper vanishes shortly
Yes.
after he leaves Twin Peaks.
He's been missing for about 24 years.
Yeah, that's what, because they based that off of Wally, their son.
We get the first mention of Wally, and I cannot wait till we get to Wally.
The one thing of the return I fucking hate is Wally Brando.
I can't wait till we talk about Wally Brando. So
we're not going to talk about Wally. In fact, we're not going to talk about Wally at all.
We're going to dig into Wally big time, because I'm looking forward to that. So
it's going to be zapped back to Buenos Aires.
And we get so we know that they're going to dig into it like it's like, and this gets you excited because you're like, ooh, old Twin Peaks, coffee, donuts in the sheriff station.
Yeah, of. And the next episode, we'll talk about it next week, has one of my favorite callbacks. We'll get into it. Yes. We'll get into it because right now, so we go back to Buckhorn.
Yeah. Just real quick. I want to say, and also, Lynch did not give a fuck about the whatever his nuts was storyline about the baby and Andy, and Lucy. That's all fucking dropped.
They just had like a different kid.
Yeah, Dick Tremaine.
Dick Tremaine. Yeah. So this is the baby she was pregnant with in the show.
Yep.
Yeah, Dick Tremaine's not brought up, even though his ominous got a light line from in season 2 has a big return in a sense.
Yeah.
But that's all. That's the only callback we get from Dick, and I'm so happy because
we get good Andy and Lucy.
Yeah, we get like this. This does Andy and Lucy justice. Like it reminds me why I love these characters. And it's not their quirks. It's just when you treat them like characters, well-rounded characters, they shine instead of two-dimensional caricatures, is what a lot of season 2 did to them.
Yes.
Did them wrong.
All right. So now we go back to, as you were saying, go back to Buckhorn.
Where the owner of JJ's Diner is now grilling Bill.
Jesus Christ. And Bill seems off. Bill seems shady.
Yeah, he gets caught in lies. He's lying.
Yes. His story contains a 40 to 50-minute gap on the day of Ruth's murder, which he adds that he was taking his assistant Betty home after a meeting.
Well, I liked it before. He's like, how long does it normally take you to drive home?
Yeah. Yeah. Right? And he's like, because there's an hour there where you should have gotten home.
Because the faculty meeting ends at 9:30 and he gets home at like 10:40.
Yeah. And we get introduced to Detective Don Harrison, and who's observing Mike Boyd are observing the interrogation, and you could tell that it's very difficult on him because he doesn't want to be doing this because they're friends, they're fishing buddies.
Yeah, and Bill is lying because him and Ruth do have like a sort of a. We find out because later on we find Bill's wife also is like cheating. We kind of get the soap opera shit back. Just different. It just feels different. It's just not as glitzy and whatever like it was in how it originally was. But Bill is not only he's lying not just because of the affair, but we find out he has other reasons why he's lying.
Yes.
Part of it is we'll get into that. But he's lying. He's lying for a reason.
Yep, and you learn that Ruth was the school librarian.
Yeah. And then Bill just as soon as he's getting caught in his lies, he wants to lawyer up.
Yep.
He's just like he talks to him. He's like, "Is there anything you want to tell me? Before the lawyers get involved?" And he's just like, "Nope." He's just digging his own grave at this point. Like, because we see JJ and the gang go back to Bill's house and search his vehicle.
Oh God.
where they find a
Yes.
chunk of human flesh in his trunk.
In his trunk, there is from far away it looked like a finger, but then when they go in on it, you're like, what the fuck is that?
It looks like a nipple.
It looks like a nipple, or it looked like something. Yeah, it's fucking weird.
And that's again, a lot of these things feel like callbacks to Lynch's. This felt a lot like the ear in Blue Velvet to me. Just a chunk of flesh, part of a mystery. I think it's this. Again, this feels like his swan song in a sense.
Yes.
And we'll get in because the next few episodes after this get very Eraserheader-ish.
Mm-hmm.
And part 8, I don't even know how the fuck we're going to review.
I am so looking forward to part 8 because it's just symbolism on symbolism on symbolism.
Because it's hard to review stuff like that. I've tried to figure out ways over the years to get Joe Brown to watch Eraserhead for a Joe Down, but every time I go back and I watch like the first hour of it just to like get reacquainted, I'm like, there's no way we can review this.
Yeah.
It's just no. So
yeah,
it's going to be interesting, folks. It's going to get interesting. But yeah, we get the hunk of human flesh, the mystery of the murder of who killed Ruth Davenport.
And then it ends with the fireman watching the phonograph making scratching noises, which, if you caught, was kind of a scratching sound when Mackley is writing down notes, agitating Hastings.
Yeah. Hastings, yeah. So we're getting hints here that Hastings is. We find out, like we talked about last week with Secret History, if you even get somewhat near an entry to these worlds, you're kind of symbolic. You're tied to it.
You're tied to it. Yep, you are linked, and you are basically cursed for life.
Yeah, we see that with Andrew Packard. We just see that with all these Douglas Milford.
Yep.
You're not
Margaret.
cursed, but you can fall under its spell.
Yep.
In a sense, it's a rare, and that's a mystery in itself. Mm-hmm. And I love talking this shit.
Right.
But yeah, that was kind of the summarization of the Return Part 1, and we'll be doing these one episodes, but there's just a lot to unpack here because it's introducing us to all these things. And I remember just watching this and I just confused, like, who the fuck are all these people? Like, how am I supposed to keep track of this?
Right. Yeah.
I felt like I needed a notebook and a pencil.
Well, I just remember, watching that and then watching the second one and just being in awe. Like, what is going on? Part 1 and 2, I was like, this is special. Like, okay, I'm going to throw out, I just said, I'm going to blank my mind out and just absorb this because that's what I have to do watching this. There's a lot of this is also why I love David Lynch's direction style, the imagery, the visual, the way he's lining up the shots. And again, he has this amazing thing about keeping off, going off of the beats that you don't expect on the filming that goes against the conventional norm. And it adds to the anxiety, it adds to the tension when there really isn't any. But there is because he's making it happen through the visual experience.
Yeah, he's a genius with that, and it's nice. I think him and Frost just work well together in that regard. Like they have like a chemistry between them to make something really fucking awesome.
Yeah, and can I say that the edited version of American Woman, which was used to bring in Cooper's Doppelganger, which was labeled as the David Lynch remix by the Muddy Magnolias, was amazing.
Yeah, and we couldn't even get it when it first came out. Like, I remember trying to find like a version of that so I could listen to it. Mm-hmm. No, I had to wait till the soundtrack came out after the show.
Yep. Yeah, I fucking love that. That was great. And I love the music that's going on in this, and that will become a thing after this episode as well. And we'll get into that next episode because that becomes a very running theme. What overall, you said you're confused and things like that, but looking at this episode and knowing what you know, it I can make sense of it now. I mean, I see what you're saying about watch it a second time
Yeah,
because you're going to be less confused because you know what's going on.
yeah. It's more fun because it was more fun for me the second time I watched it, just because since I know more,
Mm-hmm.
it I feel like I appreciate the things that I was like overlooking. And
Yeah.
like I made the mistake because like Lynch said before this came out, like look at the donut, not the hole. Everybody fucking blew that one.
Yes. Yes.
We're all looking for the mystery. We're not taking in the experience.
Exactly. Exactly.
I was dead guilty of that the first time around, but like the second time viewing, it was I liked it so much more. It just
I
I
really
don't have an idea of things. It's just yeah.
I watched it about 2 hours before we started recording this because I really wanted it fresh in my head, and I found myself enjoying it and not being confused like I was the first time. And I think that's something that's really interesting. Is you talk to a lot of people about it, or you go in the groups and things like that. Everyone kind of came out of these episodes a little different, like got something different, and that's really unique and an amazing talent of Lynch.
Yeah, and we also have to acknowledge too that this was also pretty divisive amongst the fans. This new direction,
Yes.
and I I can see why people were upset.
Mm.
I don't agree with why were upset because this is David Lynch. This is not George Lucas. He's not fan servicing you guys. But I understand why. I mean, people nostalgia is a hell of a thing,
Yes.
and the return says fuck nostalgia for the most part.
Yeah,
Like, we
absolutely.
don't care. We don't care if you enjoy the donuts and coffee and
No.
the quirky Cooper. You know what? You're gonna have to fucking earn quirky Cooper.
Yeah, yeah, and it was very much of where I talk about how me and Jode were talking about how we're getting really tired of nostalgia porn, and I think this is why I really like this because it was Twin Peaks, but it wasn't nostalgia porn.
Yeah, and I get shit on it, but for saying this, but like it's one of the reasons why I I enjoy it, but I get just like is the Stranger Things. Uh, it's fun, but when I get beat over the head with like, hey, remember the '80s? Like I
Yeah,
don't fucking care. Like
right.
I think Stranger Things would be a lot better if they just dealt with their own storylines instead of like reminding me how 1984 was.
Well, and I will attribute, partially. I can get it. Yes, there is nostalgia porn, but I push that off in my mind. I'm like, all right, I really like the characters. I really like the
Yeah,
story. I'm not gonna bother like with this. Yeah, I understand it's cool. Ooh, nostalgia. Ooh, I remember what it was like in the '80s. I remember what it was like going into a mall. No,
yeah,
this was like what a revival. This I think will become
yeah,
the blueprint for shows that come back.
yeah,
That
yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
yeah. I think anyone that's looking at bring. I mean, you saw Fuller House. Jesus Christ, there was no reason for that given where the show went. Right?
No, not at all.
No, there's no reason for it. So but this one, it could have been a simple, okay, it's 25 years later, only in Twin Peaks, this is what's going on, and it's all about everybody's kids now. No, no, nobody wants that. As much as they say they do, if they did it, everyone would have hated it.
Yeah, I would have hated it.
I would have hated it. Well, the cool thing about this is that this episode, for a long time, and I don't know if it still is, I think it still is. Let me look. I believe it's at 100% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Oh, yeah, it's yeah, and I remember another thing that made me like I was looking forward to this, but I was also cautiously optimistic after watching the revival of X Files when that came back as a limited series before
Mm-hmm.
this. And I was like, man, like they're just like, hey, remember Mulder and it's like, yeah, they're just doing the same thing they did 20 years ago.
Get this. Seasons 1 or episodes 1 through 11 are all sitting at 100% on Rotten Tomatoes 3 years later. Part 12 is at 90, which was the Let's Rock episode. Part 13, what's the story? What story is that, Charlie? That's 89. Then 14, 15, 16 get 100% again. 17 gets 95. And part 18, no surprise, got 88%. But it still was improved. So yeah, so when you think about, just nothing, no show gets 100% out of 11, 12, 13, 14 of its 18 episodes, 100% on Rotten Tomatoes.
And all the other ones are at least like 90, high 80s.
Yes, exactly. Fucking exactly. So yeah. This is something that overall it's 94% fresh with out of 95 critics. It's sitting at 94%. That is a fucking feat.
Oh yeah. And a lot of that is true. It's not fan service. It's doing their own thing. It was the brilliance of that. I bring back Twin Peaks. With David Lynch, I did not expect it to be like the old show. I had a feeling it'd be much more. I didn't know how this was going to be. Like my idea was going to be more like Fire Walk with Me. It was even different from Fire Walk with Me.
Oh, absolutely! It was way different than Fire Walk with Me. And yet it felt familiar, like almost like a way that like, hey, I kind of get it, but it was enough different that I was like, but this is its own thing too. It's really weird. Like you get the way that it, at least with me, and the way it plays with my my emotions and my ideas and my thoughts of what it is. It's familiar, but it's different.
Yeah, and again, going in, if you probably should have read Secret History because it answered a lot of questions if you had it about certain elements, like why is Jacoby living in a trailer park?
Yes,
like in a dilapidated trailer. Yep. Well, it's explained in Secret History. He was kicked out of the medical profession.
Yes. Why? It talks about Ben Horn's change of his character. It gives a little bit into Lucy and Andy. I mean, there's just a lot there.
The thing in the box.
Mm-hmm.
It's in Secret History.
Yeah. The thing
Jackie
in the box.
Gleason saw it.
Yeah, Jackie Gleason saw it. The thing that was in the box was in Secret History. So yeah, I mean, if you didn't go in reading Secret History, I could see where this would fuck you up.
It would be very jarring, that's for sure.
Oh God, you'd go, what the fuck is this? Why is this happening? Wait, what happened to this character? This doesn't. No, read the fucking book because it spells it out for you, even though you're not knowing that you're getting it.
Yeah. It sets us up even though we don't know what we're being set up for.
Yeah. It's the perfect setup. So yeah, if you're listening to this podcast and you watched the 3rd season but didn't read Secret History, get the audiobook. At least the audio.
It's not a heavy investment of a read.
No, we went through 300 pages in 2 hours talking about glossing over it. Because a lot of it is written in dossier format. It's not, a big fucking novel. So it's a lot shorter than what it seems.
Yeah.
So overall, I fucking love this. I loved this episode.
I am too, and I'm so excited to get into this season. This is just so much going on. Again, read the Secret History because it brings in a lot of like Blue Rose. Yeah, if you fucking read the book.
Yeah, if you read the book, you know what Blue Rose was. Hell, if you watch Fire Walk with Me, you'd know what Blue Rose was.
Who's that new FBI agent with Albert and Cole?
Yeah.
Read the fucking book.
Read the fucking book. It tells you at the end. Wait, what's going on with Briggs? Read the fucking book. Where's Hank Jennings these days? Read the fucking book.
Yeah, again, Briggs looms large in this. We haven't got into it. We will, but the secret history sets us up for Major Briggs and what's going on in Buckhorn.
Yes,
it really does. Like, read it.
And I was just gonna say real quick that I also feel like, again, this whole subplot, or really main plot with Briggs, I feel like they took the idea of what they wanted to back in 92 or 91, 92, and just kind of moved it a little bit, like, because now they're older and unfortunately he passed away. And but I really get the sense that we would have gotten a lot more Briggs if there had been a season 3 in 1992.
Yeah, I believe so too. Again, Lynch and Frost are cagey about the notes they were making for if a season 3. It didn't go too far, according to Frost. He said they were with that they were just spitballing ideas, and he doesn't really confirm or deny if any of what we've got was going to be part of it. But I imagine it probably would have been, since they did build up Briggs in that finale, the last 5 episodes of Twin Peaks season 2.
Yes,
Briggs was getting built up.
Briggs was getting really built up.
And I just also want to, before we end this, this episode was dedicated to the memory of Catherine Coulson. She had passed away by the time the return came. The end of each of these episodes, most of them have a dedication to somebody from the cast or crew who had passed on between 1991 and 2017.
Yeah. This one was dedicated to Margaret, which was, like I said, she died very shortly after filming this one, and you could tell she was in some serious pain while she was doing that. I mean, it's very obvious, that the way that they're filming it, and the way that it's shot, you could totally tell that Hawk is not actually talking to her.
Yeah.
That I think Lynch went to her, and I think that's why it's very zoomed in. I think Lynch went into her house and just said, I'm going to say lines to you, Catherine. Just say them. We'll make this real easy. I'll be in and out. I don't want to cause you any problems. I really feel like that's how Lynch handled it.
Yeah, and we'll see that again with Doc Hayward. He shows up, a small cameo, and it's on like a Skype sort of situation, just because Warren Frost wasn't that well when they're filming this either.
Yep.
So, yeah. But yeah, they do pay their tributes, and it's weird. It's the characters we don't see loom large.
Yes. The characters we don't see loom large, and there's a specific reason why you only saw Cooper for a few seconds in the very beginning.
Yes.
And this was telling you get ready, because that's gonna be a thing.
All right.
All right.
So what does Cast That Movie have coming up? What do you have coming up besides your mystery podcast?
Yeah. So we have filmed. We recorded the next one that will be out. We have decided. I'll give you guys who listen to this a sneak preview. The episode obviously won't drop till tomorrow of the Cast That Movie, but the next thing we're going to be doing is recasting John Carter, the Disney movie that flopped terribly. And our dream project is going to be Billy Mitchell, who was the subject of a documentary called The King of Kong.
He just got his records back.
We're going to be digging into that big time. Oh, yeah, there's a lot of shit show stuff going on.
It was only like a few weeks ago, or like a month ago, he got all his Donkey Kong scores back.
Yeah,
and his book, which is whatever.
He shouldn't have.
Yeah, he's one of history's greatest monsters.
He is one of history's greatest monsters. So yeah, according to he did get his records. Well, he got the Guinness records,
Twin
but
Galaxy still won't
Twin
get.
Twin Galaxies is like you're done. So
If anybody
yeah.
doesn't know what we're talking about, watch the documentary King of Kong. It's a
Mm-hmm.
phenomenal documentary on arcade games.
Yes. Yes, yes, it is an amazing doc. I mean, and it's less about the games and more about this person. So even if you're not into gaming, you want to do it just because it's a fascinating story about this guy, Billy Mitchell.
Yeah.
So that's what we're doing. What are you guys doing on the Joedown now?
We got it's sports month. We just did Twilight, breaking down part one, which I think really near pushed Joe Brown to insanity. But we're kicking off sports month with Any Given Sunday, the Oliver Stone football movie.
Oh my God.
So,
It's funny to me is, when I did cast that movie with Jode, I tried to cast Oliver Stone to do a Batman movie. He's like, Oliver Stone would never do a Batman movie. Oliver Stone made a fucking football movie, dude. I think he would do Batman.
he almost made that amazing Planet of the Apes movie you described.
Right. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. So you guys got Sports Month coming up.
Yep.
I'm excited for that.
And hey, we also have our Office podcast dropping this week, episode 2.
Episode 2 is dropping this week, which is, I would even argue, what? I caught a preview of it, because we're obviously on it, so we get it before you guys. I think it was I'd almost call it the real pilot, just like the show The Office.
Yeah, we dig into Diversity Day.
Oh my God.
So, yeah.
Holy fuck. Yeah. So, all right. Well, other than that, Joe would take us out. What do we got?
Oh, I got nothing this time. I am just I'm happier than shit to be talking about the return. Plus, I wasted Beulah's quote at the beginning of this, which I was planning on using at the end of it. It's a world of truck drivers.
Yeah. Well, I'll say this: 2 birds, 1 stone.